of Stirlingshire Voluntary Enterprise, the third sector interface in Stirling, and I'm also a member of the CPP Executive Board. And it's my pleasure to welcome us all together today to the opening session of Stirling's Challenge Poverty Week. Now, at this point, I would like to remind you that the session is being recorded, so I'd ask that we observe, we're all aware of the Teams etiquette now, so if we can pop ourselves on mute if we're not speaking. And if you don't wish to be recorded on camera, it's also a good idea if you just turn your cameras off at this time. Now, I'm delighted to have the opportunity to welcome guest speakers today, Susie Murning, who's the Campaigns Manager of the Poverty Alliance, and we also have with us today Councillor Scott Farmer, Stirling Council Leader. I'm going to pass over to Susie in just a second. But before we do that, I thought I would quickly run through some of the activities and events that we have planned for Challenge Poverty Week. I would like to thank as well all partners around the virtual room today who really have collaborated very well together and come together to produce such a diverse range of events and activities that raise awareness and crucially tackle the causes and consequences of poverty. We've already had one of our events this morning, which was the CLD upskilling session. So a key aspect of Challenge Poverty Week is ensuring our workforce are up to date with the knowledge and skills that they need to support people in our communities and challenge poverty. And I've heard that there's been really positive feedback from that session and lots of good ideas coming through. During the week, we also have our colleagues in the Learning and Employability team delivering a number of Thrive to Maximise workshops. And I know from experience how great these workshops are, how much of a difference they are having to parents in our communities in looking at their employability and learning journeys. So thank you very much to that team. On Wednesday, we have the Stirling Food Partnership event, which is going to be considering the NHS commissioned report into food dignity in the area. Very important report for us. We also have guest speakers as well from the Glasgow Food Partnership, as well as considering how the Stirling Food Partnership can continue onwards. Now, we know that food dignity, access to food is an essential part of the needs of our citizens, and it's really important we work together to get this right. On Thursday, we have the launch of a Community Justice Third Sector Forum. So SVE and ANIA has been working very closely on creating a new network for third sector practitioners in community justice to come together and consider how we can better support our members of the community who have touched the community justice sphere. We're wrapping up then to our closing event on Friday, and I'm pleased that Councillor Kane will join Lindsay Graham, the Commissioner of Scotland's Poverty and Inequality Commission, and also Miriam McKenna from the Improvement Service to discuss how we can wrap up our events, we can wrap up our learning for the week, but we can also make sure that Challenge Poverty Week, it may be 1 week in October, but it certainly will not be the end of our collaborative efforts to challenge and tackle the root causes of poverty and inequality in Stirling and in Scotland. Now, the contact for all of these activities and events, if you'd like to attend any of them, is ANIA, and perhaps ANIA, if you could pop your email address in the chat function and people can get in touch with you. Before I pass over to Susie, I also wanted to highlight a few excellent pieces of practice that are happening throughout our partnership as well. So schools in the area have received a toolkit with different session plans for things that they can embed within their curriculum during this week. So I expect to see lots of fantastic things coming across on social media of lots of learning from our school children and our teachers about the causes and consequences of poverty. And I know that'll be a really excellent piece of work. So thank you very much, everyone who's been involved in that. Also wanted to highlight the work that NHS Health Promotions will be doing during the week. They have information and resources on the financial savings of quitting smoking, and they will be sharing that on social media through the week, as well as the Stirling Council Communities team, who will also be taking to social media to sharing lots of key insights into how people can get further involved in their local communities and access support when they most need it. That support will also be supported by the Stirling Council Advice Services team, who have brought together a variety of leaflets and information sets that people can access, including advice services leaflets and welfare benefits leaflets. They're also going to be looking at the impact of the universal credit £20 cut during the week in a blog that they'll be putting out. So as you can see, lots of really collaborative pieces of work, and I look forward to hearing more about those by the end of the week, and also hearing our ideas and our suggestions for how we can take them forward together past the end of the week. Now at this point, I will be quiet and I will pass over to our guest speaker, Susie. Susie, I'm delighted to have you here this afternoon, and I'll pass over to you.
Great, thanks very much, Natalie. Thanks very much for having me. It's great to be here. So I'm just going to talk not for very long, but just give you an outline of what Challenge Poverty Week is and why it's so great that you have got involved in the week. So Challenge Poverty Week is a week that we host at Poverty Alliance every year, where hundreds of organisations come together to show their support for a Scotland free from poverty. So the point of Challenge Poverty Week is threefold. Firstly, it's about raising a unified voice against poverty to show that we all want to live in a more just and equal Scotland. It's to build awareness and support for the solutions to poverty. One of the things we really want to do during the week is make sure that people understand that poverty is something that can be solved. It's not inevitable. We don't want to be fatalistic about it. We really want to make people see and believe that this is something that can be solved with the right action. And thirdly, it's about trying to change the conversation around poverty as well and help end the stigma of living on a low income. So this means just highlighting that poverty is structural and that we, again, like I said, we can do something about it and taking the blame away from the individuals. What's really unique, I think, about Challenge Poverty Week is that we often say things like, poverty is an issue we all care about. I think, Natalie, you said something like that as well. And we say things like, there's widespread agreement that the existence of poverty is, it's a moral failing if that it exists in any society, and that adequate resources should be put into tackling poverty. So we all agree that and believe that, and we hear that a lot. But I think Challenge Poverty Week is one week in the year where we actually really get to see evidence of that unanimity and our beliefs about poverty in a really clear way. So every major sector in Scotland takes part in the week. So it's not just organisations like the Poverty Alliance, who from our title, it's to be expected that someone like us would get involved in Challenge Poverty Week, but it's also other people who, like I said, everyone cares about poverty, but there are lots of organisations who it's not their thing, it's not what they talk about, but it's a week for them to raise their voice with the rest of us as well and say that, this isn't our department, but we care about this too, and this matters to us too. So we have every major sector involved. We have businesses, politicians from every major political party, schools and colleges, faith groups, health boards, trade unions and professional bodies, lots of statutory bodies too, and of course community groups, charities and NGOs. So it's a real diverse range of people getting involved in the week, and I think it's great evidence of that belief that in Scotland we really all do want to see a Scotland free from poverty. So Challenge Poverty Week started back in 2013, and I think what's been really pivotal in making it such a big event in the calendar each year has been the involvement of local authorities. You guys are the ones with lots of connections into grassroots community groups and to schools, which is always a highlight of the week, seeing schools put up their photos of them doing the lesson plans and other initiatives. Always a great highlight, and reaches into lots of other organisations and communities as well. So it's been local authorities taking the lead on this in their area and really promoting it, that I think has turned it into a really big event. And as you'll see if you're following the hashtag on Twitter, there's tons going on every day of the week. It's always really exciting and engaging to be part of, and I think councils have had a big role to play in that. So thank you, Stirling, for your part in that as well. So yeah, it's really great to be here kicking off Stirling's involvement in Challenge Poverty Week, and I really look forward to seeing anything else you're putting out and sharing it. And best of luck with all your plans, and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Susie. I think that was really insightful and gave us a real perspective on the roots of Challenge Poverty Week, but also what some of those aspirations are going forward and how we can work together on that. Councillor Farmer, can I pass over to you for some of your own reflections?
Yeah, thanks very much, Natalie, and it's great to see such a good turnout from across the community planning partnership, because this is an extremely important week which highlights the challenges that we face as not just a council, but as a community planning partnership, working with governments to try and tackle some of the worst effects of poverty, and with the ultimate aim of eradicating poverty. And that is a challenge in itself. And if we just look at recent events at Westminster, where we've seen the cliff edge fall, that many will suffer from the ending of furlough, where the cut in universal credit will have an effect on some 450,000 families in Scotland, leaving them £1,040 per year poorer. So that, on top of the ending of the energy cap and rising energy prices, is creating a perfect storm for many of our communities. And it's just fortuitous that just about an hour ago I had just finished off a meeting with the Stirling Council in terms of our COVID recovery plan, where we have got monies there to actually help those most in need to come out of the recovery. And obviously we are still in a position where COVID is very much an unknown entity in terms of is there going to be an end date? How are we going to live through this, and how are we going to adapt? But through those challenges, there are opportunities there about how we can learn to work and get our life work balance better. But also, I think what we have learned is the value of people and the value of communities as we've come through this pandemic. So it's important that we take time to reflect on that, and that poverty is indeed 7 days, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And it's something that we as a council will never let up in terms of our determination to actually do all we can to mitigate and to meet the goals of the Poverty Alliance, which is to eradicate poverty. And that will mean that there'll be decisions that we can take as a council and a community planning partnership. And it's only by working together that we can maximise our chances of dealing with some of the worst effects of poverty across our communities. And we've seen our communities come together during the pandemic, and it's how we can capitalise on that and those efforts so that we can actually put our finger on the pulse of our communities through our third sector partners, through the NHS, through our community planning partnership, so that we can articulate the concerns of our communities and have tangible actions in order to deal with the poverty that they are enduring. So in terms of the other spheres of government, as we are just one, we need to keep on campaigning along with the Poverty Alliance and others to raise awareness of and support solutions to poverty, and also to look forward as we articulate ways of tackling poverty through redirecting our economy and through looking at social justice and looking at community wealth building and inclusive growth. And we can see that, for example, through the city region deal and other initiatives that will be coming forward through the council, where we will be looking at potential growth through the lens of community wealth building. And that in itself is to increase the circular economy, to tackle climate change, and to actually recognise that there are new ways of dealing with both growth and poverty in terms of how we move forward. So it's how we as a council and how we as a community planning partnership can be innovative in the way that we seek the solutions going forward in terms of effectively dealing with poverty and mitigating it's the worst aspects of it. So from that few words, I would just like to thank colleagues and partners who are supporting this week, and the best of luck for the programme. And I look forward to seeing the report of the community planning partnership as to the success of this week and how we can build on that success on an ongoing basis to continue to highlight poverty, to continue to highlight what efforts we are making to alleviate that poverty, but more importantly, to highlight that we are working together as a community planning partnership with others such as the Poverty Alliance to tackle this scourge in our society head on once and for all. So enjoy the week ahead. I hope there's a lot of good positive learning. I hope there is ways where we can look and learn from each other good practice and how we can move forward the agenda of tackling poverty as effectively as we can as a community planning partnership. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Farmer, for those insights. It's really, really helpful, helping us set the scene for the week. Okay, well, I wondered if we've got a few minutes here, if anyone would like to offer any reflections about the week ahead. We can open up the floor. Don't be shy. Shy means get no sweets. Leslie.
Thanks, Natalie. Thanks, Councillor Farmer. I suppose it's really just to maybe add to what Councillor Farmer has said. I think there's really importance this year in particular of partnership working. For me, that's tremendously strong, and looking at the programme and looking at the the range of activities and the range of partners that I know have been involved in the planning and the delivery of that programme. I think that's a tremendously strong message. And we know from our learning, particularly in our first and very early response to the pandemic, that strength of local working made a significant impact in the worst of times. And we've got some challenging times going forward, but that I'm absolutely convinced that strength of local collaboration is what will make a difference to tackling poverty, as Councillor Farmer says, 365 days of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. I couldn't agree more. Anya.
Yeah, it was just to really say thank you to our speakers. I think that was a really good way to launch the week and kind of highlight what we're up to. And just if there's any sort of questions or things that come up for any of the activities of the week, to get in touch with me. I'm happy to kind of connect you to the right person. And I'm really looking forward to sort of seeing what happens over the weekend on Friday to our session, looking at sort of recovery and how do we move forward from here. I think that'll be really positive. So yeah, thank you very much.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Is there any other final thoughts?
Can I come in, Natalie? It's Anne Margaret here.
Hello, Anne Margaret.
Hi there. Hello, everyone. I'm Anne Margaret Black, the Chief Officer for Clickmar Insurance Stirling IJB. I really just wanted to make the point, and I'm really glad that I'm here and we're together, working in collaboration to try and tackle or mitigate against the effects of poverty. But I really just wanted to make the point that although people have got poverty of their finances, poverty of opportunity, poverty of good health in some cases, and also stress that goes along, with living with no money or, what feels like lack of opportunity. I really just wanted to say people on the whole are not poor in terms of their spirit, in terms of the skills that they bring, the humanity that they bring as well, so I do think it's incumbent upon us to try and help people in order that they can, show their talents. Those talents can be developed. There's some places in Stirling where you can see that, children and young people that, can now play musical instruments that weren't able to do that before and stand up and do a performance. So I think it would be really good during the week that I just feel that sometimes that when we're talking about poverty all the time, it's almost as if somebody's whole life is poor, including the individual, and that's not the case. People have their own unique challenges within their own lives as well. Thank you. Or talents within their own life.
Thanks, Anne-Margaret. I completely agree. I think everyone on the call would, and we want to amplify the voices of lived experience as much as possible through this week and through our third sector organisations that'll be doing a lot of the work on the ground as well. Okay, well, I think that's been a fantastic opening session. I'd like to leave you with a little bit of homework. I should say I went completely off-piste in this, so Anya and Leslie are going, what's Natalie talking about? A little bit of homework. So throughout the week, I would like you to think about what are you going to learn? So try and learn something through the Challenge Poverty Week events. What are you going to learn? The second piece of homework, I would like you to think about what are you going to share? How can you share a piece of activity, an idea you have, anything that you think might make a difference, or even sharing that learning? Okay, so what are you going to learn? What are you going to share? And then finally, by the end of the week, have a think about what are you going to commit? What are you going to commit in your own role that helps tackle poverty 365 days of the year? And perhaps we can have some of that shared on the chat function in the closing session, if that's of interest to anyone. So 3 things: learn, share, and commit. And on that note, I would like to thank everyone who's been able to come today. I would like to particularly thank Susie and Councillor Farmer, and I would also like to thank Anya, who has brought together the Challenge Poverty Collaborative Group, who've been working on all these events and has worked very hard to do so. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.